Hello, I'm Guy Daniels with TelecomTV, and I'm joined now at Mobile World Congress by Keith Willetts, who is Chairman and CEO of the TM Forum. One of the trends, certainly in terms of networks at this show and in the industry generally, has been network functions virtualization. We seem to hear an awful lot about SDN and NFV. If we just look at NFV for a moment, how is that affecting what you do in the forum, and how are your members having to react and adapt to the requirements of telcos now?
Well, NFV is a really big shift. It's not just another network generation, which we've seen many of. It completely changes the way you think about networking. And the issues for us who look at the business models, business processes, business systems issues, what does that mean in running an infrastructure based on NFV? What do you do with it? When how do you unlock the value of it? I mean, NFV is almost certainly going to help us drive down the cost of networking, which is good. But does it help you win customers? Does it help you grow top line revenue? So it's what can I do to exploit that? And I think you have to think about things quite differently in a virtualized environment. So we're doing a lot of work in thinking about those aspects, with people like Etsy defining the underlying base standardization. We've heard a few announcements this week about trials of different technologies, all good, but it's not just another networking generation. It is a fundamental shift. You need to rethink how you operate, control those networks. We have a project called the Zoom project, which is looking at that, which is getting a huge amount of interest around the industry. Everybody wants to know.
Well, tell me about Zoom now. What exactly is it?
Well, it's one of these acronyms that people fill in the blanks later on, but it's really a zero-touch, lights-out, automated approach to running future networks. But very particularly because NFV isn't just a network, it's all about the transaction levels within that. So the service, what the service is that you can create out of that infrastructure, and particularly as not just the network is virtualizing, but IT is virtualizing, applications are virtualizing, everything is virtualizing. How do you bring that mix together and drive value out of it? And I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that, but it's certainly one of the things we're very focused on trying to get some answers to.
And so what are the objectives of Zoom? What's the end game for it?
Well, the simple objective is, what are we going to need to operate and control NFV networks? So can we use what we've already got, or do we need to throw that all away and have something completely different? And there's lots of arguments and debates over that. But I do think it has to be much more than that, because the operation and control is not just of the network, but it's of the application sets that are running in that network. So those applications could come not just from a vendor or in a nice box as it does today. It can come from many places. How do you drive network quality across that? How do you get 6 nines out of it? And most importantly, how do you get revenue out of it?
Because what we're hearing from the telco's perspective, that this is great for them because it kind of eliminates vendor lock-in, so they can start looking at multiple vendors, new vendors, and also, as you just alluded to, third-party new developers, more entrepreneurial-based developers to come on board. That seems to me a whole new business dynamic there. You've got a lot more companies perhaps operating in the telco space.
Well, it's a rock in the pond. I think it's a rock in the pond for traditional equipment vendors because it effectively breaks their market apart, as you said. But it also potentially throws a rock in the pond for operators, because what's an operator now? The person owns the duct in which the fiber goes. If anybody can put applications into the network, you've got all sorts of clever things you could do with that architecture. You've got cloud at the moment is in big data centers in hollow mountains in Norway. Now we can put cloud at street level. We can put applications at street level. CDNs and NFV merge. Whole new topologies, but is that the domain of the telco? What does the telco own there? Does the telco own the fiber? I mean, regulation. What does regulation apply to in that environment? Regulated networks, non-regulated networks. Just applications running on commercial grade computing over a bit of fiber. So I think there's significant opportunities, but significant threats to the whole value chain, to the established equipment vendor pieces. You can see wholly new players entering what is currently the communications domain from left field.
So it's too early to really define what the new business models are, because there will be new business models as a result of this.
Well, you can speculate on what they might be, but I think for sure it's more players in the mix, a lot more partnering going to have to go on. Telcos aren't particularly good at partnering, you know, and it's going to be a very collaborative environment. If we're looking at though something that we want to work first time every time, we expect a communications infrastructure to do that, I think we have to rethink completely the whole dynamic over security, authentication, reliability, to get that to deliver the same. It offers lots and lots of flexibility and innovation, but it's also got to work. And so I think there's big challenges there.
Is this changing the way how you react with your membership, or you have to adapt the organisation for your members' needs? Are they changing?
Well, we've been doing that anyway. Everything has to be faster, better, cheaper. And the way that people have come to agreement on things historically has been a relatively slow birthing process of, you know, lots of smoke-filled rooms and diagrams on walls and arguing. And particularly where you get competitive interests clashing, you know, there's a lot of jockeying for position and so on. We're not involved in the base standardization of NFV to any great extent. We're looking at that, you know, how do I operate and control it? But you have to move to much more agile techniques. You know, there's well-established software development techniques that get you to a result faster in smaller bites. And that's the way we're working with our members now, is trying to eat the elephant in bite-sized chunks, but also taking a good enough approach as opposed to a perfect solution that will last 30 years, because generations of technology are moving so fast that you could spend longer trying to specify than the lifetime of the technology. So my message to the underlying standardization movement inside NFV is don't take too long about it, get on with it, because people want to start playing with it. When they get it out there in the marketplace, then they'll figure out what to do with it. And that's really where our role of how you deliver, operate, control services can really come to life, because we can whiteboard it today, but the whiteboard and the market reality might be two different things. And lots of new players will come into this space.
Well, good advice as always. Keith Willetts, thank you very much indeed.
Great pleasure.